Okay, peeps, welcome back. So LTCN and BCHG did indeed bounce, exactly as we predicted. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so a couple of things first that we're going to go over before we get into the actual charts here. First thing I'd like to say is to give a thank you and a shout out to Mark Estes. As you guys can see here, he did donate $10 to the channel with a super thanks. So thank you for that. We really appreciate you. Anything that you guys do to help support this channel is good for us because then it can allow us to create greater and more and better content to provide to you guys on a timely manner, and also to reach out to a much wider audience and, um, give more people exposure to the markets and understanding ways in which they can free themselves up from whatever it is that binds them, so to speak. So that's the first thing. Second thing that I would like to bring up is we did actually post I'm trying to remember what it's called, a poll on X, on our X account, that you guys can check out, where we ask you in a poll what specific time of day you would like us to post content. At this point, we've received probably at least half a dozen requests now to post content at a different time, or something about it being too late or something like that. So we're trying to come up with ways to accommodate everyone. So we're going to leave our X link in the description below. If you guys could give us a follow on X, we would appreciate it. There is some stuff that we post on there from time to time that we may not necessarily be posting that same day. Or it's whatever we post is pretty much immediately what we see. It doesn't take away from the content that we provide. It's just another added bonus. So anyways, we're going to leave the post up there. So it's for 7 days. You guys are welcome to go vote. This is going to be the last time that we're going to do it. We did it once before, but there was only 6 votes over a 3-day period. I believe it was 3 days. I'd have to go back and look, but this is for 7 days. So you guys are welcome to go post. The quicker this gets done, the quicker we can get the results out to you. And we'll try to come up with a couple of solutions to where it benefits everyone, okay, or as close to everyone as possible. So keep a lookout for that. Again, the link to our X account will be in the description, so you guys can click on that. Easy hyperlink to get you over there and take a look at what we're talking about. So anyways, let's get into the content. So LTCN had a huge, and I do mean huge, bounce today. Okay, so it was looking pretty red on the week. We thought it was likely going to come back down to this box. It still could in tomorrow's trading session, but that's not what happens. So basically from the wick low here to where we are currently, we're up about 23% from that bounce. I can tell you guys right now, our position in LTCN was up roughly around like $1,700 on the day or something like that. So pretty huge move. And I mean, again, it's great to see it on paper, but you guys got to understand about when it comes to crypto, there's only 3 ways to make crypto or make money in crypto. Okay. You either long it, you short it, or you stake it. That's it. Okay. If you're longing or shorting and you don't take profits, it doesn't matter if you're a day trader, swing trader, investor. There's a chance you could get dumped on and you may not make any money. I'm not saying this to spook you guys. I'm just giving you the cold hard facts here about the realities of investing in what some people out there in finance would consider to be speculative assets. Okay. And of course, not financial advice, but never invest more than you can afford to lose. So something to keep in mind. But so why exactly did we get a bounce? Well, one of the reasons could potentially be because, again, the crypto space has sold off quite a bit. I mean, Bitcoin had sold off from I think it was nearly 74,000 to 60,000 or something like that. As you guys can see here, the crypto space is having a bounce. It is coming back. We're actually going to post a video about Bitcoin and the miners here soon. So keep a lookout for that. We'll get more in depth into all that in that video. We're not going to do that here. But as you can see across the board, some pretty nice bounces on a lot of these. Mana had a really big bounce, so 28% on that one, and then 15% on LTCN and BCHG. And I know that another request you guys had was that you want us to let you know at the time of recording which trusts we think are expensive or cheap, or good buys, good sells, stuff like that. Again, we're not like a trade service. Okay, we don't do like trade alerts and stuff like that. We just show you guys what we see, and if you choose to take that trade, that's entirely your choice. Understand the risks, all that stuff. So the crypto space having a recovery could be a good indication of why we bounced. But I did tell you guys before that basically the start of the last bull run, I'm going to point this out one more time, was pretty much right from these lows right here, which is where we bounced from, as you guys can see. Once we hit those prices a second time, this thing basically did a double bottom back here, and then boom, it's shot straight up all the way up to all-time highs. So that would probably explain part of the reason why this thing did bounce. Another reason is because Bitcoin and the altcoins in the native crypto space did actually pump. So you guys can see the double bottom here. So you have this wick low here. You get this bounce out of support, which is why this support is so important. And then resistance here, of course. And then you have this double bottom. So one touch, two touch down here, and then boom, straight off to the moon. So another thing I want to point out to you guys is, and I've noticed this when we've been trading, that this is a common occurrence in day trading. This does actually happen in futures, believe it or not. So it's not just crypto. This happens in other markets too. But if you see this wick high over here, see this one candle wick high right here, and then you have these candle wick lows right here. Sometimes when price action bounces, when you're looking from the chart from the right to the left, it'll bounce almost perfectly in between those two sets of wicks. So if I put the price just below the wick here, you guys can see that the bottom of you can see that the very bottom of the wick of the current week that we're in is in between those wick lows and wick highs on the support and resistance before. So a lot of times when a wick bounces off of another wick, it'll either do it in between wicks, slightly above it, or just at it. So that could be another reason we bounced, is because a lot of traders are looking at this and saying, it bounced back here. This is where we had this massive run up to 510. There was also this wick here. It was tested as resistance. So from a trader's perspective, that's another reason it could have bounced. So anyways, current support still sits at about $23 to $27. The resistance zone, the zone is actually I would say it's not really a zone per se, but pretty much the price target that we're looking to get above here is roughly about $50. We want to see a candle close above this control bar here. So if we get a close, I would say above $49 break even. If we get even a slight candle close above that, I think this thing is going to push up to anywhere between 75 to 100 to 135. There's no guarantees, but again, I think the probability of that is likely. So let's go ahead and do the measurements on that real quick. So from the current price to basically the top of that control bar, you're looking at about 67%. Again, you don't have to get in now. You could DCA down to the support if you think it's going to go lower, or you could bulk buy now. Like maybe say you want to put $1,000 in, you could put 500 in now and say, well, I'm not going to put the other 500 in unless it comes down here. That's an option. You could DCA down. You could do like quarter increments. You do, 250 here, maybe 250 at the yellow EMA, 250 at the top of the support, and 250 at the bottom of the support. You could do something like that. There's a lot of options and strategies to be able to implement here. But if you wanted to wait to get in at support back to the control bar up there at the high, you'd be looking at about 119%. And of course, to get all the way up to this resistance zone would be huge. You'd be looking at somewhere between roughly about a 3 to 4.5x or so. So BCHG, this one has also bounced. Looks like we might be having a tweezer bottom here. This one's not so obvious because the red candle is pretty huge, but it does potentially look like a tweezer bottom. In order for this to be a tweezer bottom, this weekly candle needs to close green, with the candle body being above, I would say probably above this candle body here, which obviously if it wasn't, it would be a doji or red candle, and also above this current support zone. I would say that probably qualifies as a tweezer bottom. So anyways, nice solid bounce once again. Basically this wick bouncing from around this wick. Same thing we saw last time. So support still resides between 10 to about 1270. Resistance is between 18 to 20, and the top of that wick up there is roughly about $24. So if you wanted to get in now, you could ride it up to resistance. That'd be 34 to about 48%. And then the top of that wick up there is going to be about 75%. But if you still think it's going to come down lower and you want to wait to get in somewhere in the zone, I would completely understand. So that'd be about 54% to about 74%. And then all the way up to the top of that wick is going to be about 105%. So HZEN, this thing did have a little bit of a recovery, but it showed some weakness here during the trading session. It was actually the only thing that was green that was not more than 1%. And of course, you have ETCG was down. So based on that alone, I would say it's likely HZEN is probably still going to dump some more. I would be looking for this thing to hit support. So again, somewhere between 380 to 420. And then, of course, the wick high up here is 1050, and then your resistance is $6.90 to $8. And I mean, this could change by basically the end of tomorrow's trading session, which would wrap up the week. But if this flips from red to green, then that changes the picture. But at this point, it looks likely that it's going to pull back. So anyways, from the support to resistance, you'd be looking at about 71 to 101%, and then up to the top of that wick up there, about 158%. So ETCG does look like it's going to have a MACD death cross, so there could be more of a pullback coming. We don't know yet, but I would say somewhere in this support, all of this support here is going to hold. So again, the EMAs, the trend line, the channel, and the support zone. If it drops below that, all of that, which I would be shocked if it did, I would say it's probably going to stop somewhere around maybe 9 to... I'd say probably around $9 to $10-ish somewhere there could be the absolute lowest. So again, current support 13 to roughly about 16, resistance 1770 all the way up to 20. The wick highs are roughly about 1950 up there, as you guys can see. So if you chose to get it now, it would be about 1750 to 30%. And you're looking at maybe about 42% all the way up to about 48%. But if you wanted to wait to get down to, let's say, maybe this red EMA just to be a little bit safer, somewhere above that $9 to $10 range, I would understand that. So you'd be looking at about 18 to 43%, and again, 59%, 75%, and 80% respectively. So GXLM definitely getting a double, what looks to be like a bounce here. I almost said double bottom. It could actually be a double bottom. I mean, you have two sets of wicks here, two sets of wicks here. That could be a double bottom. It could be actually bouncing right off of this trend line. That's possible. I would still say somewhere in between this wedge is going to hold. So that's going to be about $32 to about $40-ish. If you wanted to wait for that pullback to that point, that would make sense. So 43 to 60%. To get to the current resistance, and then to get to the higher level of resistance, about 94% to 151%. And again, how long you want to hold these, that's up to you. So ETH still looks like it's going to break down out of this handle, so that would invalidate the cup and handle, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Again, the target for that is all the way up here at $54. So assuming that it does break down, let's just say hypothetically it breaks down, this is the likely scenario. It's going to drop to somewhere probably between 17 to 18, I would say, and then this would be the new resistance. So we'll just go, on that assumption that that's going to happen. So resistance would be between 25 to 29. And if you wanted to wait to get in down here, your immediate return would be somewhere between 44 to 68%, and then the higher level would be 132 to 172%. We're not going to measure the cup and handle target because, again, if this comes down to support, that's going to be invalidated. So Zcash had this thing had a huge bounce. I mean, this is 18%, like pretty much almost instantly. So that's, hey, anybody that got in at this zone when it was in there before it bounced, congrats, man. You made money. Whether you choose to sell or not, that's up to you. So again, I would say support's going to be between $4.40 to $5 and $7.40 to $8 as resistance. The wick high up there is about $10.20. The EMAs and the support and this lower support down here are all kind of confluence, so I suspect this entire area is going to hold in general. Again, the lower support is $2.70 to $4, but I don't think it's likely to get down there, in my opinion. So if you wanted to wait for it to get back into the zone, you'd be looking at about 53 to 68%, and then as high as 112%. GSOL, so this thing's having a little tiny baby bounce. Again, I would not be picking it up at these levels. That's just my opinion. If I was going to buy this, I'd be looking to buy somewhere between 180 to 200, maybe 230 at the highest. So again, the top of the move up here is at about 580. So let's just say you pick this thing up at, I don't know, $220 or something like that. You'd be looking at about 162% move on that one. Mana, this thing did have a massive bounce. It bounced pretty much right off this previous wick, which again, it's not surprising. This happens all the time in futures. It's very common. You guys don't get to see us trade like that, but trust me, we see it all the time. So I did say that I think this would bounce somewhere between 20 to about where these wicks are at, so 26. So that does look like it's happening. Again, I will state here that I think probably buying somewhere down here in case it does come lower is probably more prudent, but it's up to you guys. So let's say you get in at, I don't know, maybe the bottom of this wick. Let's say that would be your starting point, about 24. It'd be 189% move. And again, the high up there is at about $70. So GBAT, this thing has bounced based on this wick low here. That's very common in trading. So again, I would not be buying this until about $10 or around $10. That's just my opinion. It did come down there pretty close, but not quite. So from about the 10-ish level, you'd be looking at about 210%. And again, the high up there is roughly about $32. So G-Link, I still think this one comes down to about $68 to $85. I mean, if you want to buy now, you can, and maybe just DCA on the way down just to be safe. Me personally, if I was going to buy this, I would not put all my money in up here, especially when it could just come back up, test this trend line, and then boom, shoot straight back down. That could happen. I mean, since this is a triangle pattern, not a bull flag, it's just a triangle pattern. If this, so this is basically a dual directional pattern. It doesn't necessarily have to be bullish. It could be bullish, but it could also be bearish. So if it comes back up, tests, and then shoots straight back down, don't be surprised if it happens. It may not happen. It might happen. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, I think it bottoms out somewhere between 67 to about 83. So if you wanted to wait for that zone and then hold it up to that wick high, which is your choice, is about 200% move or about $220 at the top. So PhilG has had a nice little bounce. Again, I'll reiterate that I personally would not buy this unless it got to somewhere between 64 to roughly about $80 or so. So the high is going to be up there at about $395. So to go from here to roughly about where I'd want to buy, it'd be about another 55% drop. Again, if it doesn't happen, we may or may not buy it even if it does happen, but if it doesn't happen, we're not going to stress it. There's plenty of opportunity in the market. So again, to get back up to that previous high at $400, it'd be about a 436% move. GLIV did kind of gap down out of this, but we don't have a weekly close yet, so we don't know if that's a fake out or a confirmed breakdown. I would still say that this thing probably bottoms somewhere between 26 to about 28. Again, that's roughly about the bottom of those wicks. So if it goes down there, it'd be about a 33% drop from the current prices. And to get back up to the high from the current price is about 100%. But if you wanted to wait for it to get back down to the bottom of these wicks here, your return would increase to as much as 182%. So anyways, LTCN BCHG had a nice bounce today. We're going to leave the X link in the description below. Go ahead and cast a vote. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll try to accommodate you. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.